Hi, I'm Fay Semple and I'm a geomancer who helps people transform their homes, gardens and farms into vibrant and living sanctuaries. And today I'm going to dive into something that's pretty mind-blowing really. It's how your land, that's your soil, your plants and even the stones can speak to you through a field of quantum coherence. Really, this is inspired by the ancient megalithic builders. So if you've ever wondered if there's more to your garden than meets the eye, you are in the right place. If you've ever felt that land is alive, that rivers are alive, that trees are alive, you are definitely in the right place. So before we start, I would really like it if you could hit the like button and subscribe. Because it really helps to grow this channel and bring in a new audience. And if you could share it anywhere on social media, that would be absolutely fantastic because the world is calling us to step up right now. It's speaking to those of us who recognise that it is a conscious being. And with all the chaos in the world right now, I think we need more and more people to step into our power of honouring the life in the earth. So, how does your garden feel to you at the moment? How does your home feel? How does any land that you own feel? Maybe you own a small holding or a farm. How productive is it? How vibrant is it? Or are there areas that feel stuck or uncomfortable? This is all evidence of how we interact with all the energy in the landscape, with its voice, and with its what we call quantum coherence. Now, you might be thinking, quantum coherence in my garden. I understand that's quantum biology. We know there's quantum coherence fields, but in my garden, in land, that sounds a little bit too much, sounds a little bit too out there. And I get it, it can be, I was sort of skeptical when I first went into dowsing and geomancy. I was very much of the view of, I'm dowsing energy layers, telluric currents, if you like. I'm dowsing underground water because these things are affecting people and they are making them ill or whatever. I've come a long, long way in my understanding of earth energy about that now and how interactions with it. And really, when energy is just we are interacting badly with energy. It's usually that there is a problem within us that we need to address. We don't fit into the quantum coherence of the landscape. So the idea that your land could have an energetic field that connects everything, soil, plants, animals, even you, once upon a time that would have sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie. But, here's the thing, it isn't new. Megalithic builders who created things like Stonehenge and Avebury and sacred sites, those energy fields affect the landscape from those structures. They have a certain field of influence that goes so far out in the landscape. And they understood how to harness that Earth's energy to create harmony in the landscape. So to make sure animals thrived, people thrived, crops thrived, and societies thrived in their sort of life form. And modern science, we have things like quantum agriculture now that's starting to catch up with this. So today I'm going to break this down with simple, relatable examples so you can see how your land is already talking to you and how you can listen. So let's go back to basics. What is quantum coherence? Well, in a simple term, it's when everything in a system, your garden, your farm, your home, and everything in those, so people, plants, animals, fauna, flora, everything works together in perfect harmony. It's like a symphony, it's like an orchestra, all playing the same tune. So, every stone, every plant, or every drop of water then vibrates in sort of synchronicity. It creates a field of energy that boosts vitality over the whole area. So think of it as like Wi-Fi for your land, really. When there's a strong signal, you've got good connection. When it's weak, not so good. When you have a strong signal, plants grow better, soil stays healthier, you feel more connected so that things that you do have a better outcome. That might be in your relationships, your health, it might be in your career goals. So the whole thing is tied to really to everything being the best that it could be. So let's think about the places you've been. Have you ever walked into anywhere, maybe a house or a garden, and it felt instantly calm and like the space was alive, and you just seemed to sit in this consciousness that enveloped you? That's coherence at work. That's when everything's working as it should. The opposite is when you go into a house or somewhere that it feels chaotic. So you might go to a home where, everybody's argumentative and they're ill, or in an office building, or you might go to, say, a farm where there's not dependent on the weather, but there's really poor crop yields. Things don't grow, the ground doesn't just produce as it should. They might have poor animal health, low birth rates in livestock, or mastitis in cattle. It just feels off, and there's no sort of reason why that should be. You've ruled out all the normal things. This is actually a sign that sort of the energy isn't aligned. And I think ancient megalithic builders knew this. They recognized that when we went from sort of nomadic culture where we were living in sync with nature to creating settlements, that's when things started to go off. So we needed to counteract the negative effects of us being settled and farming elements and growing crops in an organized manner rather than allowing seeds to scatter naturally through the wind or being carried by animals and growing where they grew. We were manipulating our environment, and therefore we changed a lot of energetic things. So to bring that balance back, we needed a mechanism, we needed tools, and this is really what a lot of the megalithic structures do. So we know that we can place quartz-rich stones in precise alignments with the Earth's telluric currents and underground water, and that rebalances the coherence. So and it does this through things like subtle electromagnetic fields or scalar fields. They can influence their surroundings. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to see this energy. A lot of it's in the infrared spectrum, and you can see how energetic waves go out from megalithic structures when they're working properly. Has to be said, because a lot of our megalithic structures are in a state of part deconstruction due to their age. You can see that a lot of this is not working quite as it should. It's still working to a degree, but nothing like what it would have been if these things were solid. It's like seeing a car, and we could look at the car and we could push it along, but the engine's not running. So this is the benefit of things that I do with my students, is that we rebuild megalithic structures, only just on a smaller scale in their homes, in their farms, the small holdings, because you're not trying to cover whole huge areas where society, loads of people live, loads of tribes. You only need to do your one patch. So what we can do is we can recreate megalithic technology on a scale that's compatible with modern living. So let me share a story with you to make this sort of real. I worked with a client, Sarah, who had a market garden that just wasn't thriving. So her flowers were stunted, they weren't growing, seeds just weren't germinating. When they were growing, there were low growth rates, they weren't flowering. Everything just seemed to be off. She felt drained every time she stepped outside. She had a high staff turnover rate. Profits were plummeting in her business. So everything was stunted, everything wasn't growing, everything wasn't thriving. So what we did, she thought it was bad soil and, it was just poor business timing. But looking at the coherence, the energy patterns in the landscape, I suspected that there was some really what we call it geopathic stress, but it's really when energy fields have lost their coherence. So nothing's given the energy it needs to grow properly, from plants to our ideas. So we created a simple megalithic structure. Well, we actually created two. We created a small megalith. It's not actually standing stone. It's a small, what we would call a kind of a tower thing, a bit like the Irish round towers. And we also created, believe it or not, a small miniature chambered cairn. It's for her to put her seeds in before they germinated, for her to utilize this energy. And when we did that, within weeks, everything was bursting to life. So the seeds were germinating at a faster rate. They were growing faster. They were growing more uniformly. They were producing better blooms. She herself had more energy. She started the staff turnover. The staff started to feel better coming up to work. They were more productive. So the business started to sell more. She started to make more profit. So the whole thing was starting to work better, and everybody said they just felt more energized working there. They were keener, they had more enthusiasm, they got less tired. So why is that? Well, the stones were amplifying the land's natural energy, really like resonators, and they're creating a coherent field field that supported the soil, it supported the plants, and it supported the people, and it supported the people's enterprises and their ideas. And this isn't magic. I think this is ancient technology, really backed by science. So research into quantum agriculture shows that Fibonacci-based layouts, so you're planting crops or using crystals in a Fibonacci spiral, that can improve plant growth by up to 20% by aligning energy flows. So 20% of increased plant growth, of increased yield, that's potentially 20% increase in your top line. You know, these are important figures, and you can do this in your own back garden. If you just want to increase the life in your garden, if you just want to feel better, these are simple things that you can do. So, you know, you might still be thinking, well, this is just all woo-woo. Not at all. Modern quantum agriculture, and they are doing this now, is proving what the megalithic builders knew thousands of years ago. For example, let's look at photosynthesis. Studies on photosynthesis show that plants use quantum coherence to transfer energy with near perfect efficiency. And that's something that scientists are still trying to replicate in solar panels. So farmers using quantum agriculture techniques like Fibonacci spirals, bioenergetic fields, and you can create those bioenergetic fields by using simple megalithic structures. You know, report healthier crops, greater yields, more resilient soil, plants are stress resistant. You know, people are healthier at work, less accidents, better birthing rates in stock, you know, less mastitis in cattle. These are real results from this technology. They're not just feel-good vibes, I think I feel better. These are real and measurable results. And I think the megalithic builders were masters of this. So take the Manga dolmen in Spain, and research has shown it's massive quartz stones. You know, they were chosen for their piezoelectric properties, meaning the stones themselves generate tiny electric charges that influence the surrounding energetic field. So you have a dolmen standing in a field and it has a zone or a range of influence. And by placing these stones in specific patterns or locations, so you can have one over there and one over there, their fields of influence link up so that their quantum coherence goes across entire landscapes, boosting fertility and vitality. And this is why sacred sites, you know, if they're dotted about the countryside, the whole of your landscape then is put into quantum coherence. But because so many of them are dismantled and destroyed and broken down, we don't have that today. We don't have that boost to fertility and vitality that we used to. But my work brings these ancient techniques back into your garden, your small holding, your yard, your farm, so that your plants, your animals can all start to thrive in harmony. So, you know, this matters at a time when, you know, we've got massive chemical companies trying to push fertilizer onto farms. We may have insufficient water. You know, when you've got quantum coherence, plants don't need as much water to thrive as well. They become disease resistant. They become, when we're using megalithic technology, they become stress resistant. They're more resistant to drought, they're more resistant to disease, they're more resistant to pest. Your soil stays healthier. So you can use less agrochemicals, you know, in farms. We can use less stuff in our garden. We can also increase the quality and taste of our crops. We can increase the percentage of the yield. So these things, this is a technology that is really, really important moving forward. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's a small backyard or a sprawling farm. This technology matters, and our land is trying to communicate with us. You know, if you've got a patch of dry soil, it might be reflecting, you know, problems in the water underground that we can assist with this megalithic technology. So, you know, these things are really important. And by learning to work with earth energy, like the megalithic builders did, you can create, you know, sanctuaries where you can grow not just your plants, but your entire life, your clarity, your purpose, your vitality. It means everybody in that area is functioning to their personal capacity. They're able to bring their gifts and skills and talents to the fore in the society that they're obviously in service to. So, you know, your land is talking to you. And if you're, you know, it's a question of being ready to listen. Megalithic builders, they really left us a blueprint. with a few simple steps, really, you can start unlocking your land's hidden energy. So if you're curious to know more, I've got a free guide called Decoding Sacred Secrets, and it's about the technology in megalithic sites. So it's packed with practical tips to start your journey. And you can grab it now at the links below in the video. Just enter your email and it's yours instantly. But before you go, please do hit the like and subscribe if this video resonated. You want to learn more. So, get more content. And I'd love you to share how you feel about land, how you feel about the potential for this technology, because I think it's revolutionary. I think it's what the world needs right now. We are in a phase where, we have this whole elite, way of top-down control over how we grow food, land grabs, everything else going on. I think we really need to reclaim our connection to our land, our ability to grow our own food if we can. But if we can't, we want farms and communities that are growing food that are doing so in a way that is in harmony with the landscape, in harmony with everything that we want. So don't forget to grab your free guide, and I will see you in the next video.